What's up friends, and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to show you how to mix and master your Afrobeat in FL Studio. So I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to show you how to mix and master using stock plugins and do the same with third-party plugins. I like to use third-party plugins because I think it's way easier using them than the stock plugins when it comes to mixing and mastering. But if you're just using stock plugins, that shouldn't matter, just follow the same steps. And if you want to check out how to create this beat, the link is in the description. And if you want to check out the full beat, so the final result, the link is also in the description. So first, we're just gonna have a listen to the first part of the beat. So first guitar and some chords. Uplifting effect. Or now some more elements coming in. As you can hear, it's not that well balanced yet, so something we could improve on. So drums coming in. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Bassline. So I think I played all the elements which are included in this beat. And as I showed you in the tutorial, I always separate all the elements. And in pattern 1, every element is present, as you can see right here. And this makes it way easier to listen to the elements when mixing and mastering it. You could also export the stems by pressing File, Export, WAV file, and then select Split Mixer Tracks. So you could mix and master all the separate stems individually. But if you have the computer power to just add other plugins in your original project, I highly recommend you do that. So I'm opening up the mixer and I've already assigned colors to all the elements. So this is the kick. In red, all the percussions, blue is the drum roll, then in black the synths and keys, purple is the vocal, the bass lines in green, and a downlifter, which is just the original color. So I left it this way. And I did this just to make it more clear to you guys. So we could solo elements right here in the channel rack, but also in the arrangement. So I'm gonna do this right now in the arrangement. So I'm gonna select this part, and first I'm gonna add some mixing to my drums. So I'm disabling the synths, which I put on top. So right now just the drums are playing. And when it comes to creating a clean drum pattern, don't add too much processing, because you just have to pick good sounds, because you can't fix a bad sound. And the most important thing when it comes to creating a clean drum loop is balancing. So first I'm gonna open up the kick in the channel rack. And as you can see, I've not made an adjustment to this kick. So we want this kick to be normalized. So as you can see, when I normalize, nothing happens. So the kick is already normalized. Then I'm moving on to the piano roll, and you select the note velocity. I'm gonna start off by putting the note velocity on 78%. This is the initial value and don't mess with it. So just leave it this way. And when I'm listening to the kick, so just select the kick in the mixer and I'm listening to it, and I'm gonna check out the volume on the master. So I'm gonna solo this one. So I'm pressing Command and select the Mute Solo button. I will now check out the volume on the master. So as you can see, is between 9 and -6 dB. So right now I'm enabling all the elements again. So I've already adjusted the volume of the shaker loop when I dragged it in. So we're gonna make some small adjustments to the shaker loop in the end. But first we're gonna just have a listen, and without adding EQs or whatever, just balance the mix using the volume knobs right here. So I think the bongo is way too present. So I've added this EQ to the rim shot. Maybe add some more high frequencies, so it sounds a little bit more sharper. Then I've used a hi-hat just as a layer to add some more high frequencies. I'm gonna make sure it matches the rim shot volume. Maybe reduce the volume of the impact. So now as an example, I'm gonna link all those drums to a mixer bus, and I'm gonna compare the volume of the whole drum bus to the kick. I'm gonna press Option. So I move this one to the left, and right now I'm gonna compare the kick and the drums. So they have to be at the same level. So as you can see, it's exceeding a little bit. So when I mix the beat, I always make sure my kick and my drums are at the same volume. They don't have to be at the exact same volume, but it's just an indicator. So I'm gonna add an EQ to the snare alternative and maybe add a little bit of high frequencies. So I'm using the FabFilter Pro Q3, but you can also use the EQ2. They are basically the same. As you can hear, I'm adding high frequencies right here. So around 2.5 dB. So that's it. So right now I'm just gonna leave it this way. So I've also added those toms and linked them to one bus right here, as you can hear. So I'm gonna select this part of the drum loop. So I already used this reverb on the drum loop and put the wet on around 25%. A little bit of decay just to add some more room to the sounds. But I'm also gonna use an EQ. So I want to use shape, and then I want to use a low cut filter. On the Fruity EQ2, this one is called a high pass filter. I'm gonna adjust this one to around 100 Hertz to remove the low frequencies. So it's not getting too messy in the end. Otherwise the frequencies from the kick and those toms will interfere with each other. And for the high frequencies, you could just adjust it the way you like it. Doesn't matter that much. And make sure the bus from the drum roll isn't as loud as your original element. And then we're adjusting the volume of the bus, so it's in the background, but not that much in the background. Sounds perfect. Alright, now we could add some panning to all our drums. So right now we're using two kind of snares rim shots, and first we're gonna pan these elements a little bit to the left. So for example, 12% to the left. So you won't be able to recognize that. I'm gonna leave the hi-hat this way because it's already panned to the left, as you can see. So we're gonna pan the bongo 12% to the right, something like that. And the other bongo maybe 25. So we're creating some room. And because the snare and the snare alternative contain a lot of high frequencies, we're gonna pan the shaker loop to the right. So we're separating those ones to the left and the shaker loop to the right. Not that much. And we're now just separating all the elements, and in the end this will result into a cleaner mix. And you could leave the impact just on mono. So right now we're gonna focus on the drum roll. So you could just play around with this one. So maybe pan this one a lot to the right, this one to the left. Maybe this one also to the left and this one to the right. So panning somewhere to the left and to the right doesn't matter that much. But make sure to add some more panning to your drum roll than to the original drums. So right now we're gonna start adding the elements, and we're gonna do this step by step. So first I'm gonna add the royalty keys. So those are the royalty keys. Contain a lot of mid frequencies, no reverb. So let's select the song again, and we're just gonna play them alone. So I've added this Vinyl 1 preset just to add some effects. So we're gonna add an EQ. And in this case, just let's use EQ2. So right now the EQ is gonna show you the frequency spectrum. So it's gonna show you this one contains some bass, some low mid, and maybe some mid frequencies. And when it comes to making additions to those sounds, just keep it as simple as possible. So I'm going to reduce a little bit of bass frequencies, because we're adding a bass later on. Maybe some mids. Around 1 dB. And we're now going to add the other keys element. This one already has a shaper box, so it's widening the sound. And because the royalty V2 is in the middle, you're going to separate this one. So when creating the beat, I already thought of this, so put it at 200%. So the royalty keys are in the middle and the underspear on the sides. I think the volume is already perfect. So right now let's add an EQ. So in this case I'm going to use the Pro Q3 again. This one contains some annoying frequencies which we should remove. One is right here. You can just play this by checking where it is, like this. So that's it. There is already some processing on this sound in the synth, but just leave it that way. So right now we're gonna select this part. So right now the flute, a vocal is coming in. So first disable this one and the flute. And we're gonna check the bass. So make sure the bass isn't too loud, but it already sounds perfect. So right now we're gonna add the flute. So I've already used an EQ to remove some of the high frequencies. So some frequencies which I just didn't like. And I've also used this Valhalla reverb, this one. And because this is a sound which is in the background, I'm just gonna leave it this way. But I'm just gonna adjust maybe the volume. That's it, and right now I'm adding the vocal. That's it. So I've already added a lot of processing on this vocal. So remove the high frequencies and mid frequencies, so without it sounds like this. With it sounds like this. I've added this Kickstarter too, so some side chaining, also a shaper box to add some panning which is automated like this, some simple delay, and also some reverb. So no compression or whatever, it's just adjust the volume and that's it. So right now I'm going to select the part in the beat where almost all the elements are playing. So right now the bass line is coming in. So right now we're going to add some side chaining, and I'm going to use the Kickstart 2 to create a perfect sidechain. So first select the kick and then select the ample bass or your bass sound. Select sidechain to this track. So right now it's sidechained to the ample bass A, the kick to ample bass A. And we're now going to select slot 1 and then I'm going to select kickstart 2. And this took me a while to figure this out, so I'm going to select the detailed settings, VST wrapper, processing, and then I'm going to select node 1, right mouse button and select kick sun. So this is the kick which we've linked to the specific insert. Open up the plugin again. Then we're going to select audio. So when a kick is playing, the bass is sidechaining. It's happening, as you can see right now. So adjust the slope. And I don't want the bass to be fully sidechained. So already gives it a way cleaner sound, around 75%. So that's it, pretty easy. And right now I'm going to add an EQ. And I'm going to remove some of the low frequencies, because I think the bass sound contains way too much low frequencies. So I'm going to select this one, and shape is a low shelf, but the Pro Q3 create this already. And remove around 2.5 dB. So 60 Hertz, something like that. So I'm selecting this one right now. When it comes to adding a bassline like this, I'm also looking at the amount of decibels. So we're going to select the right now we're going to have a look at the master. Around minus 15 dB is perfect. And this only applies if you add the drums like I did previously. So normalizing the kick at 78% velocity. So right now we're going to select the next part. And the bass line is coming in. We don't have to sidechain the bass line because there is no kick playing when the bass line is playing. So right now I'm just going to play the beat and make some small adjustments. So the bass line around minus 18 dB. Has to be more quiet than the bass line, otherwise it wouldn't sound that good. Because the bass part or the ample bass A is the part where the beat is really coming in at the hook, for example. Maybe we'll just turn up the volume a little bit. Guitar is coming in. I've added this OTT. This is basically a multiband compressor. Added this EQ. Maybe reduce the bass line a little bit. Perfect transition. Reduce this one a little bit, the snare alternative. So right now we're gonna add some panning to our synths. So we have the omnisphere, which is on the sides, and the whirly, which is in the middle. So let's have a listen. So I'm not gonna add any panning to those ones. Then we have the flute. So I'm gonna pan this one around 24% to the left. And then add the vocal. Add this one a little bit to the right. And then a guitar is coming in. And in this case I'm gonna leave the guitar also in the middle. And I'm not using any panning on my bass or my saw bass because I don't want to pan any low frequencies. So that's it when it comes to the mixing, and it all comes down to using good elements. So use clean drums and use very good synthesizer. And also something important is don't use reverb on low frequencies because otherwise your mix would sound really muddy. So if you're using, for example, reverb on your snare, and I'm gonna show you this in the Fruity Reverb 2, then use this low cut. So remove the low frequencies on the reverb, for example, from 1000 Hz. So only the high frequencies from the specific percussion is reverbing. So right now we're gonna start off by mastering. I'm gonna show you two techniques. And I use a simple mastering chain. But first I'm gonna show you what I've already put on my master. So this is an automated Pro Q3 high cut filter. So it's automated this way. I'm just gonna leave it right there. And I've used this fruity filter and I've automated the gain. So I've created an automation clip like this. And as you can see, limiter, master, gain. So at the end of the beat, the gain is going down. So I'm gonna play the beat in the loudest part, where almost all the elements are playing. And right now, the first step is to add some compression, the second step is to add some saturation, and the third step is adding stereo imaging and a maximizer. So in this case, I'm gonna use the Citomic The Glue, which is my favorite compressor. And I'm just gonna use the preset. So I'm gonna use the mastering preset. I'm gonna select the transparent final master. Let's have a listen. And I'm compressing around -3 dB from 87 Hz. So I'm not compressing the lowest frequencies. And I'm adding around 2 dB of makeup, which is just a default preset. And this just blends together or just pushes together all the sounds. And while using the Fruity multiband compressor, I'm just gonna select a preset and I'm gonna select the mastering 2.4 dB. And I'm just gonna leave it on default. So it does basically the same. So right now I'm gonna add some saturation or use the soft clipper. In this case, what I like to use is the Saturn 2 from Fat Filter. Then I'm selecting a 2 preset and select the Clean 2 preset, just to avoid some distortion. And then I'm adding around 10% of drive. And this will also compress the signal. And it's all about compressing the signal without noticing it. You could also do the same with the soft clipper. So as you can see, the master is at -3 dB. So I'm gonna select the threshold and set the threshold to around -6. The post gain to around 80%. So right now I'm basically doing exactly the same. So I'm turning on the Saturn 2. Right now we're just gonna maximize the beat. In this case I'm gonna keep it simple. So I'm gonna use the Fruity limiter. So right now I'm gonna adjust the gain. But in the tutorial I will have to make some adjustments to make sure all the volumes are at the same level. So I'm gonna add some saturation and add some gain. So I'm gonna add some gain until the kick hits 0. Now I'm gonna add some saturation. Maybe add a little bit more, around 7 dB in this case. And that's it. And right now the beat hits maximum volume and is perfect for uploading it to YouTube or, for example, Spotify. And this all comes down to making sure your mix is perfect. Because I'm already compressing all the elements, I'm able to just add around 7 dBs of gain to in the end reach enough volume. I like to use Ozone 9, which is a great plugin for mastering. And I just keep it simple. So I'm gonna add an imager, and right now I'm gonna drag it, and right now I'm gonna select some bands. So around 150 Hertz, 1000 Hertz, and 6000 Hertz. And I want my low frequencies to be on mono. And you're not able to do this, or I don't know how to, using a stock plugin and do it properly, but I'm gonna reduce this one to -100, which basically means all the low frequencies playing in mono. I'm gonna reduce this one a little bit and create kind of a linear preset and leave all the other things on default. I'm making the high frequencies sound more stereo. So that sounds perfect. So let's solo it without. And with the processing, huge difference. And now I'm selecting the maximizer. So I'm selecting the RC3, which is the intelligent release control, and I like to use that one. I'm enabling true peak. So I'm adjusting this one to -0.1 dB because I don't want any of my signal hitting 0 dB because otherwise that would cause clipping. I'm leaving this on default. And then Ozone 9 has this great function by learning the threshold. So when it comes to YouTube and Spotify, so the best LUFS for YouTube is -14 LUFS. For example, Spotify also normalizes the signal to -14 dB LUFS. So I'm just leaving the learn threshold on -14, and it's crucial you play your beat in the loudest part. So I'm gonna select learn threshold, and right now the threshold is going to adjust it automatically. So let's have a listen. So right now disable, -7.5 dB. So that's it. Let's for example compare it to the limiter, which I've adjusted manually. Exactly the same volume. And also the sound quality for both is nice. So for example, just use these stock plugins and have a listen. So maybe the result is a little bit better for using the third-party plugins. But that's mainly because I'm using an imager which spreads the high frequencies in the end. So when I master a beat, it normally takes around 10 minutes or maybe 5. So that's it. So it's just really simple for uploading beats to YouTube. If you want to upload beats to Spotify or for example to a huge artist, I should spend some more time on the master. But just for uploading your beats to YouTube and BeatStars, this is perfect. Because when you sell a beat to an artist, also make sure to export your stems without any effects on the master. Because an engineer will take care of the mixing and mastering. And right now you want to export, select file, export WAV file, for example, press save. And then you want to export WAV and MP3 using these settings. Leave a remainder so there's no clicking sound in the end. High quality and resampling also on the highest as possible. Leave some tempo information, which is really helpful when someone buys your beat to read the tempo from the project file. And also make sure to enable the insert effects and enable the master effects for your master when you upload it to YouTube. So that's how I master my beats. If you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comment. And that's it for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Make sure to leave it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to download the free preset, the link is in the description. I hope to see you in one of my next tutorials.